You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into STB Sports Take, Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Bingham. Thank you for joining us. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. We are there, as I almost knocked the cup over. Thank you for being here. Whatever platform you are on, listening, watching, please subscribe. Tell your friends, tell everybody, post it on your Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook, put it all over the place. Link to this podcast, share the love. Okay, diving in. Sorry I didn't get podcast out yesterday. Monday is the usual day that I try to do it. I was in Cancun for work. I know, rough life, that's what you're all thinking. It was for work. It was very fun. I chose to do it over the weekend because I knew I could turn it into some fun. But I'm taking a large group down there in February, so not for a good, 9 months or so. But with a group of 100-plus people, you got to book well in advance. So I had to go do some site visits and just inspect some resorts, things like that. So turned out to be a lot of fun. Got it all figured out, but was traveling back yesterday, so just didn't get a chance to do the pod. But look at this nice golden brown tan I have. So anyway, okay, lots to talk about. Huge stuff going on in the NBA. These playoffs have been very entertaining, per usual, with the exception of the Game 7s that we had on Sunday. So I was in Cancun, obviously, having a blast. Went scuba diving to an underwater museum that day, by the way. It was incredible. And so I only caught parts of the games, but I was not even disappointed. I just saw the score of the Bucks-Celtics game, and then I watched most of the Suns-Mavericks game, and I watched the second half. I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. I looked at my phone. I was like, this has to be some sort of error. This is some sort of mistake. Complete and total meltdown by the Suns. They were up 2-0. This is getting really, really sad. I want to talk today about Luka Magic, CP3 meltdown, the Kendall Jenner curse. My buddy Jimmy Rex just sent me this thing on Barstool Sports. This guy kind of breaking down the Kendall Jenner curse. And we all know this. Kendall Jenner has dated, she's currently with Devin Booker. They supposedly maybe got married in secret. I don't really know. But ever since that came out, he played like garbage and had one of the worst Game 7s ever. She was with Ben Simmons, and he forgot how to shoot a basketball. Didn't even play this entire year. Okay, that was the last guy she dated. Before that, it was Blake Griffin. And shortly after, this guy goes through all of this. Shortly after, we all know that she dated Blake Griffin, and his career kind of fell apart. He's still in the league, but he's not even close to what he used to be. Signed that massive deal. Eventually gets traded to the Pistons. Eventually released from the Pistons, and now he's on a veteran minimum with the Nets. So the curse is real. I mean, whoever she's with, and it's not just Kendall Jenner, it's like the whole Kardashian family. Stay away, NBA players. Stay far away if you want your career. If you value your career, stay away. So we'll talk about that. Well, actually, we just did talk about that. But I want to talk about Devin Booker and how, I don't know what happened there. This is a guy that I was touting on the podcast recently, saying how much better he was than Donovan Mitchell. And now all of a sudden I'm like, geez, Donovan Mitchell never laid eggs like this in the playoffs. This is pathetic. And CP3, what on earth happened? I did the podcast last week with my buddy Colin Terry, and we're talking about CP3 versus Luka. Who do you want right now this year to win a championship? I'm saying CP3. Colin says CP3. How dumb does that look now? How wrong could I have been on that? But at the time, he was playing great. He 14 for 14, perfect shooting night. He's getting 20-plus points in the fourth quarter, all this stuff. CP3 gets it done. He does. He's a winner. There's something about closing out an important series that he just can't do. He's now blown 5, or maybe it's even 6. I think it's 5 2-0 leads in the playoffs. He's never won a Game 7. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And ever since he turned 37, which was just a week or two ago, 2 weeks ago, he's had 5 games since then. He's averaging 9 points in those 5 games. 9 times. 9 points. He's averaging more turnovers and fouls than he is points. turnovers and fouls combined. Horrendous. The worst stretch of basketball of his career right after he turned 37, just 2 weeks ago, after going up 2-0. And it looked like the Suns were well on their way to the NBA Finals, especially when we watched the Warriors go behind by like 40 to the 40 or 50 even to the Grizzlies. Like weird playoffs. Very entertaining, just very unexpected, very bizarre. And you got to hand it to Luka Doncic. The guy is unbeatable. Now, I do think this. I just got done actually doing a guest appearance on a different podcast, and I was asked about this, and I just said, look, I just don't think that Luka can get it done on his own. I think now it's up at these higher level of competition. The conference finals, the NBA finals, that's where it gets super real. Remember LeBron James on the Cavs in 2000, whatever it was it 15? The 72 and 73 and 9 year that the Warriors had, where no, that was the year that was 2016. That was the year that the Cavaliers beat them. It was the year before that. And LeBron goes into the finals with no Kevin Love because he got injured early in the playoffs against the Celtics, I believe. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Kyrie goes down with an injury. So now LeBron has Matthew Dellavedova as like his number 2 guy, right? And they still go 6 games. So the Cavs win that series with healthy Kevin Love, healthy Kyrie Irving. But they didn't have him. And LeBron couldn't get it done. He couldn't get it done because you can't do it by yourself. If your best supporting cast members, not one but 2 of them, go down, it's tough. It's tough. And LeBron isn't the closer that like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant is, but he can carry a team as well as anybody. And he couldn't do it. I just don't think that, and this isn't saying that the Mavericks have hurt players because they don't, but I just don't think they have enough support around Luka to win an NBA title. I don't think that Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie are enough to win an NBA title. I don't. Not when you see Klay Thompson starting to maybe have a little bit of a resurgence. I like Klay Thompson. I like Steph Curry. I'm kind of rooting for them. Steph is in the midst of his worst postseason performance of his entire career. He's averaging fewer points on lower percentage shooting. He's just not playing well. He's not shooting well. And it's either because he's choking or he's in a slump and he'll snap out of it. And we're going to soon find out because it's going to get real now against Luka and the Mavericks because Luka's not scared of anybody. Luka's a top 5, maybe even a top 3 player in this league. And he is having a massive coming out party right now as a superstar. I mean, he's already been a superstar, but now it's like this is where it's the biggest stage. Everybody's watching it. Everybody's witnessing it. And he's making a fool out of other all-stars. Literally, the meme of him grinning up at Devin Booker that's going to live forever. I mean, that is legendary stuff. So Luka has become a legitimate, bona fide mega superstar at that upper echelon with like Giannis, LeBron, Steph. And so now you've got Steph and Luka head to head. I don't know that they'll guard each other a ton. But what was interesting is I read on the 538 blog, Dave Glauser, loyal listener. We'll see if he texts me when this comes out to see how loyal he is. But text me a link to the 538 blog breaking down the Mavericks game plan. And their game plan was repeatedly to go after Chris Paul. To whoever Chris Paul is defending, that person is going to set us an on-ball screen to force CP3 to switch, because most of the time in the NBA, almost always, they switch screens. So they switch the screen, and I don't know why that is. Like, they were repeatedly getting Chris Paul to switch onto Luka Doncic and even Jalen Brunson and other guys, and he couldn't defend. He couldn't stop anybody. And it was the most screens since they started recording this in 2013, the most screens ever set against Chris Paul, the most screens ever set by Chris Paul's man in order to get him to switch to be the on-ball defender. Like 5 of the 7 most games of his career where that happened were in this series against the Mavericks just now. Like their blatant open game plan was to attack Chris Paul. And it worked. It worked. And it was in the 5 games. It was in games 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I mean, think about that. Pretty remarkable stuff. Because they were down 0-2, shift the game plan. So kudos to Jason Kidd. He's doing a heck of a job there in Dallas. It's his first season. and they're looking really, really good. I saw a tweet, how much are Laker fans punching air right now, knowing they could have had Jason Kidd over Frank Vogel. The question is, would LeBron listen to him? Probably not. LeBron's tough. He's tough to work with. Not that I have ever worked with him, but if he wants to work with me, LeBron, let me know. You can reach out to me directly, and we'll work it out. But anyway, so I got really sidetracked there. But he's doing a great job. Jason Kidd's doing a great job in Dallas, and Luka is a superstar. I just don't think he has enough help to win a championship. I just don't. Even if they get past, so my early predictions that I put out on Twitter are Warriors to win the series in 7 against the Mavericks, and the Heat to win the series in 7 against the Celtics. The Celtics beat the Bucks. So I've said, you hear it frequently, and I've said this before, the best ability in sports is availability. And that is so true in the playoffs, in the NBA playoffs. It is so, so true because the healthiest team frequently wins. That's true in the NFL playoffs often too. Because you look at the lone Raptors championship. They won it because they were healthy and the Warriors were not. Last year, the Bucks were healthy and they win the title. This year, they're without Chris Middleton and they lose in 7 games to the Celtics. Anyone that is smart with basketball that watched that series knows that if Giannis has another all-star with him, a guy that does average 20-plus points per game, a solid three-point shooter, a solid defender, a fantastic scorer. Come on. They barely lose. Game 7 wasn't close, but they lose barely. It goes 7 games without Chris Middleton. If they have a healthy Chris Middleton, it's the Bucks that have moved on, not the Celtics. That said, the Celtics look really, really good. They're definitely a team to take seriously. I do think they have the best player in the series in Jason Tatum. I don't think Jason Tatum is at that high superstar level yet. He certainly isn't on a Luka Doncic level. He certainly isn't on a Giannis level, but he's getting closer. Jimmy Butler is the best player for Miami, and I think he's kind of right there as well. I do think he's slightly less dominant than Jason Tatum, but he's better than Jaylen Brown. So I'd say he's the second best player in the series. And then the Heat are so deep. They have Duncan Robinson, who signed this big deal and barely even gets off their bench now because they're that deep. And he's a solid player. He's a great three-point shooter. Tyler Hero comes off the bench, 6th man of the year. He would start on any other team. The big question mark is Kyle Lowry. The Celtics just benefited from an injured Chris Middleton. They will now benefit, at least in Game 1, from an injured Kyle Lowry. The Heat have championship pedigree from top to bottom. Their organization is run at a championship level. Their owner, their obviously president in Pat Riley. Spoelstra has won multiple titles. They just have kind of championship DNA. But Kyle Lowry is a player. You've got Udonis Haslem, who's more like a coach, but he's on the team. He's a player, but he never plays. He's more of a coach. He's obviously got championship DNA. He was there for all 3 Heat titles. But Kyle Lowry recently won one as the number 2 guy on the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, Kawhi being number 1. But he's hurt. So I think you'll probably see him back in this series, maybe for Game 2. I would think certainly by Game 3. But they're going to need him. I do think the Heat will need him to get past the Celtics. They'll need him for at least 5 of the 7 games because I do think it's going 7. I like the home team in both of these series, and I also like the championship experience on the home teams. So in other words, the Heat have home court advantage and they have championship experience. The Warriors have home court advantage and they have championship experience. Those 2 things matter tremendously at this stage. They just do. Now, the Mavericks have proven the last 2 series, they closed it out. Utah, and then just now we watched them close out the Suns in Phoenix in unbelievable fashion. Biggest home court Game 7 loss in NBA playoff history. And what does this do for Chris Paul's legacy? I don't freaking know. To me, he's still a top 5 point guard all time, right there at number 5, behind Steph, Magic, Stockton, Isaiah. I would put CP3 as number 5. But he's got to do something. I don't know what he's got to do to get over the hump. I don't know. But Patrick Beverley goes on to all the ESPN shows yesterday, by the way. I'm sure you saw this on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And he just absolutely obliterates Chris Paul. And it's like, dude, Bev, you're a role player. You're an average role player. Chris Paul is a superstar. He's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. You're just clout chasing. You're almost auditioning for your job in broadcasting. You're taking personal shots. Patrick Beverley, it was very entertaining. It was very entertaining to watch. He's calling him a cone. He's calling Chris Paul a cone when it comes to defense. What is it? You put up a cone and in a drill and you make a move. What does the cone do? Well, it just stays stationary. He's like, that's Chris Paul. Nobody's afraid of Chris Paul. I'm out eating steak late at night. I'm in bed by 8 if I got to guard Steph Curry the next day. Just absolutely going after it. It felt like personal attacks. It felt very petty, very childish, very attention-seeking, very clout-chasing, very jealous. That's how it felt to me listening to Patrick Beverley talk about Chris Paul. And I'm not Chris Paul's biggest fan. I think he whines and complains and flops. But he is light years beyond Patrick Beverley. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, what an interesting series. And now we get to watch Steph Curry, Devin Booker's out. We get to watch Steph Curry, Luka Doncic head-to-head. I just think the supporting cast, I think Luka is the best player in that series, currently playing the best. I think Steph Curry, to me, is still the better player, but he's just struggling right now. And he doesn't seem to have the killer mentality that Luka has. And so when it comes to this series right here, right now, maybe I'm prisoner of the moment again like I was with the Chris Paul thing. But right now, Luka's the better player. He's just got it going on. He had more points in the series than Devin Booker. He had more rebounds than DeAndre Ayton. He had more assists than Chris Paul. He had more steals than Mikal Bridges. Like, those are 4 guys at the thing they do the best, right? Mikal is a defensive guy. Luka had more steals than him. Booker's a scorer. Luka had more points than him. CP3 is a facilitator. Luka had more assists than him. DeAndre Ayton's a big guy. He's actually not the greatest rebounder, but he's a big guy who does get a lot of rebounds. Luka had more rebounds than him. He's just doing it all right now. So to me, he's the best player in the series, barely ahead of Steph, only because of killer instinct, how he's playing currently. So we'll see. But they're very evenly matched right there, those two guys. But then you go to supporting cast, and it's like Klay Thompson's maybe 75% of himself right now, but he showed flashes in the last series. If he can get up to like 90% of himself and like be there for 5 games worth at that level, I think the Warriors win. Because Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, to me, that's just a better supporting cast than Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie's a nice player. I think they actually don't use him enough, the Mavericks. I think they should use him more. But to me, the supporting cast and the championship pedigree and the home court advantage at Golden State is just going to they're just going to be outmatched. The Mavericks will be outmatched. Luka can't do it all on his own. So I'm taking the Warriors, and I'm going to pull up, I just actually did pull up the betting odds. The Warriors right now are the favorites to win the title. Celtics after that, then the Heat, then the Mavericks. People are all on the Celtics bandwagon right now, and I don't really get it. Let me switch to Nevada, see what that does. There we go. So yeah, Warriors, Celtics, Heat, Mavericks. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't see it. I just don't see it the same way that other people do, I guess. To me, the Celtics are lacking dominant superstar play. Jason Tatum's there, but he's not all the way there, if that makes sense. And I don't know. I just don't see it. To me, the Heat are going to win that series in 7 for the same reason that the Warriors will. Home court advantage, championship pedigree, deeper bench. There you go. So that's my take on that. As far as the championship goes, I guess we'll just wait and see. I tweeted that the Warriors aren't contenders if they're down by 50, but now all of a sudden it's like they're definitely got to be contenders. I just didn't think the Suns were gonna win, gonna lose, and so I thought the Suns were gonna go to the NBA Finals. But now it looks like the Warriors probably will. And then when they get there, it's like anything can happen. They're maybe the best team left, honestly. So we'll see. I'm just rooting for good, hard-fought battles, fun stuff. Hit me up on Twitter, by the way, at Sean Bingham. It's fun to interact with people there. Share the podcast with others. I think that's all I had for today, you guys. Short and sweet. We're at the 20-minute mark right now. So thank you for being here. Subscribe, please. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts. We're on all of them. Take your pick. That's it. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out STBSportsTake.com. Simply the best in sports.
'Cause we are warriors.